Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Tiffany Moore. I'm an independent insurance agent. The independent part means that I work for many, if not all, of the Medicare carriers here in this area. And I'm glad that you took the time to tune in today. We are not going to be talking about plan specifics today, but we are going to be talking about the changes that are coming to Medicare Part D in 2025. And my priority today is just to help you, number one, understand what the changes are. And number two, know that you can reach out to me if you have questions. And as we get into that AEP window come October, November, December, that a conversation between you and I can help us to determine if these changes are affecting your coverage, and if so, what options you want to pursue so that your coverage meets your needs. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen so that we're all looking at the same thing here. Okay. Part D program changes for 2025. One note to make, I know that you all experience this even more profoundly than I do with advertisements and mailers and phone calls and emails, but I just wanted to let you know that there are some folks in this space who are using the fact that changes are coming as kind of a scare tactic or a way to encourage people being fearful about what's happening. And I'm hoping that as we review today, and especially after, we've gone through the changes, rather than feeling fear, we feel informed and we feel empowered to be able to make the choices that are going to work for your coverage. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at the changes. These changes are stemming from the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. These are not the only changes that have come from that act, and some of them have already been put into place. They are changes like limiting the cost of insulin to $35. This is something that already exists in the Medicare Part D coverage. Another change that already is there is eliminating cost sharing for Medicare beneficiaries, that's you, for ACIP vaccines. So any Part D covered adult vaccine, your cost share has been lowered to 0. And that is in effect already in 2024. Finally, something that's already happened is eliminating out-of-pocket costs for you, Medicare beneficiaries, when you get into catastrophic coverage, which is the fourth and final phase of the current drug coverage structure. Okay. Now, these changes affect everyone with Part D. If you're enrolled in a standalone prescription drug plan, or if you're enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan with prescription drug coverage, your Part D coverage is affected by these changes and the Part D structure, no matter which one of those types of coverage you're on. Okay. So now let's take a look at what currently exists with drug coverage on Part D in 2024. So this is current. Okay. There are 4 phases currently for drug coverage. They start at deductible, go to initial coverage, then to the coverage gap, or what some people call the donut hole, and finally catastrophic. For folks who have a deductible on their drug plan, the highest the deductible can be this year is $545. That's regulated by the federal government, okay? And some of you have coverage that doesn't even have a drug deductible. So you actually skip past this deductible phase and go right into initial coverage. If your plan has a drug deductible, you are 100% responsible for that deductible. Okay, that's what cost sharing means. Those are your costs. Okay. Now, once you've either met your deductible or skipped past the deductible because you don't have one, you enter the initial coverage phase. This is where you have your copays that are part of your drug coverage. Okay. And your maximum cost sharing in this phase is 25% of the cost of the drugs. For many medications in initial coverage, you're actually paying less than 25% of the cost of the drug, depending on where it sits in the tier structure. Okay. So, from tier 1, which are the preferred generic drugs, down through tier 5, which are the specialty drugs, your costs are different based on how your coverage offers copays and coverage for those tiers. Okay. Now, currently in 2024, once you and your plan together have spent $5,030 toward your medications. So that includes your cost sharing and the plan's cost sharing. The coverage gap is then triggered, the third phase, okay? And in the coverage gap, you have a maximum of 25% of your cost share. This is where currently drug coverage does shift all of that 25% load to you. So folks who are affected by the coverage gap or the donut hole will notice, sometimes even this time of the year, depending on the cost of your drugs, that your drug costs suddenly go up. They leave the copay structure and go up to the 25%, which can mean that your costs increase significantly, okay? Currently, you cover 25%. If it's an applicable drug, meaning it's on a list through Center for Medicare Services that rates it as applicable, your plan or your insurance company pays 5%, and then the manufacturer is expected to provide a 70% discount, okay? If it's a non-applicable drug, you pay 25% and the plan pays 75%. So the manufacturers aren't required to contribute to that amount during the coverage gap. Once you and your plan with your 25% and 5% or 25% and 75% have paid $8,000 toward your drug costs, then catastrophic phase is triggered, that final and fourth phase. And in the catastrophic phase, your costs go down to zero. You'll see here that your plan continues to pay 20% and the reinsurance is 80%. Reinsurance is covered by Medicare. So it's the federal Medicare program that is covering that additional 80%. Okay, so that is 2024's structure, okay? Now, if we're going to look at our Part D coverage changes that are coming in 2025, I want you to be mindful of three things. First, the coverage gap is being eliminated, meaning drug coverage on Part D is going from 4 phases down to 3 phases, okay? And we're going to look at a chart to show what that looks like. The second change, your out-of-pocket limit for covered Part B medications is $2,000. That number has gone down from $8,000 to $2,000. That is good news for Medicare beneficiaries, particularly Medicare beneficiaries who have had really high medication costs up above that $8,000, okay? And it's good news for all of us. Now, it's similar to good news like raising the minimum wage. It's good news for folks who it's going to affect and help. It also means that all of us are going to shoulder the effects of that change, okay? As you know, insurance companies are all about calculating their risk, and they have now each been handed $6,000 more of risk for each Medicare beneficiary because of that lowering of the out-of-pocket costs, okay? So this is one of the reasons why it is anticipated that these changes are going to impact plans, both standalone prescription drug plans and Medicare Advantage plans. However, like I've mentioned, we don't actually know what those changes are currently, and we can't talk about the changes until October 1st. So toward the end of this presentation in a couple of slides, I'm going to show you a link and a schedule for plan reviews that I'm going to be doing in October. That is going to be an awesome place for us to get informed about what the changes are, if there are any changes, and then be able to make a good decision for you for your coverage. Okay, finally, the third change is the establishment of the Medicare prescription payment plan. We're going to get more into details about this. The purpose of the Medicare prescription payment plan is to help stretch out drug costs over the course of a year rather than forcing Medicare beneficiaries to shoulder high costs all at once at the pharmacy window, okay? All right, so let's take a look at a similar chart to 2024 that deals with 2025, okay? You'll notice here the coverage gap is not applicable any longer. So we've gone from 4 phases down to 3. The deductible phase still exists, and this deductible maximum has increased slightly from $545 up to $590. Okay, so that is the maximum deductible that you would have on Part D coverage. Some of you may continue to have no deductible. We're just going to need to see about what the changes bring. Okay. Now, once you have either met the deductible or you don't have a deductible, so your initial coverage phase is triggered, you'll notice your cost sharing is the same here, up to 25%. The plan is paying 65% on applicable drugs, 75% on non-applicable drugs, and that manufacturer discount has gone down to 10% there in the initial coverage phase, okay? Now, all three of these elements, your out-of-pocket cost, what the plan is paying or what the insurance company is paying, and the manufacturer discount are calculated into that out-of-pocket threshold, okay? And once you reach that $2,000 out-of-pocket threshold, catastrophic phase is triggered and your costs go down to zero. Okay, now you'll see here in catastrophic, the plan and the manufacturer are sharing some responsibility. And there's also a reinsurance responsibility that is, again, Medicare. So there are three contributing groups to the cost of your medications once you're in catastrophic. And you are not one of those three groups. Your plan, your insurance company will be contributing, a manufacturer discount is part of the applicable drugs, and the reinsurance through Medicare is covering the remaining percentage. Okay. Now, the Medicare prescription payment plan. This is offering a new way to pay for your prescription drugs, okay? This can be available to folks who are Medicare Advantage plans with prescription drug coverage, and also folks who are in stand-alone prescription drug plans, okay? You can sign up for this program at any time throughout the year. It starts January 1st, and you can sign up for it throughout the plan year, okay? As we know, all prescription drug expenses and accruements of costs are calculated from January 1st through December 31st every year. So if you are someone who has enrolled in Medicare partly through this year, your costs will be calculated starting when you enrolled through December 31st, and then they will reset on January 1st, just like folks who've been enrolled all year in 2024, okay? Prescription drug expenses are going to be broken into monthly payments instead of the entire bill being paid all at once at the pharmacy. This can be really helpful for folks on a fixed income to not have to shoulder those large chunks of costs, but rather to spread them out over the course of the year. Now, one thing to note, you are not guaranteed when you enroll in the Medicare prescription payment plan that your payment is going to stay exactly the same all year. Because if you receive a new prescription, if you fill prescriptions more frequently than you needed to when the payment plan was first determined, those things are going to affect the amount that is due for your payment plan. So that's an important thing to note. It's not locked in the first time you activate the payment plan. The payment plans are being administered by the insurance companies, by your carrier, okay? So to enroll in the payment plan and to ask questions or, work out any issues with the payment plan, you're going to be communicating with your insurance company. Okay, and this is a place where those star ratings are going to really help us to understand the carriers who have been rated highly by those star ratings, because star ratings indicate customer service feedback, they indicate provider feedback. So those star ratings are going to be a good thing for us to look at when we're considering how the communication is going to be with any given carrier. Okay. So those are the three changes. Now the question is, will this change affect Medicare plans? We do expect this to impact both Medicare Advantage plans and standalone prescription drug plans. However, we can't discuss those changes until October. So be watching for your explanation of changes, which is the letter that comes in the mail from your insurance carrier to let you know about what's changing in your plan for the next plan year. And also, we're going to stay in touch with each other, okay? Excuse me. Here's one way we're going to do that. On Wednesday, October 9th, mark your calendar. I am going to be available on Zoom meetings to review each carrier's benefits for that year. Okay. So this is the link for those Zoom meetings, and I'm also going to email that out to you. But you'll notice there in the schedule, I'm starting at 9 o'clock, and then each carrier has an assigned time. Finally, the standalone prescription drug plans are there at the end of the afternoon. I highly recommend that you mark your calendar for the carrier that applies to you currently. So if you are currently on Aetna coverage, mark your calendar for 11 a.m. But also keep in mind, you are welcome to come to any of the other presentations. So if you get your explanation of change letter and you think, whoa, I want to know more about what my other options are, or if you have a friend or a neighbor who says, hey, I love my, United coverage, or I love my Banner coverage, feel free to come tune into those sessions as well. This is going to be a great place for us to get clarity about the plan changes, since we'll be able to discuss those specifics then. Okay. Finally, I love my clients and I appreciate your referrals. So please feel free to share my information with friends, with neighbors, with loved ones. As you know, there's never any pressure for them to work with me, but my goal is to educate folks so that they have as much information as they can have in making their coverage decisions. And because of these changes and, the different motivations of different folks in this industry, there are folks who are trying to scare or, kind of frighten people. And so I hope that you know that you can trust me to not use fear, but rather information and support to be able to help folks. So please feel free to pass along my information. That QR code will, if you scan it, it will let you save me in your contacts in your phone. And that way you can just share my contact with any friends or neighbors or loved ones so that they can reach out to me. On that information on my contact, there'll be a link to schedule an appointment with me on my online scheduler. And there's also a link to share any doctor or prescription details that you want for me to look up in order for us to be able to look at your specific needs. Okay. Again, thank you for making the time to tune into this. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. You can email, you can text me, you can call me, and we'll make sure that you have clarity for these changes so that you're feeling well prepared and able to make informed choices as we move into AEP in October. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye.